Good evening, wool gatherers, and welcome to episode 176 of Wanderings and Wool Gathering. Tonight on the show, we are welcoming two special guests. We will affectionately refer to them as the Michaels. I coined it here first. Michael Ciravolo of Human Drama, Gene Loves Jezebel, and Beauty and Chaos. When he's not making music, he's presiding over Schecter guitars. And the other Michael is Michael Rozon. He's a producer, mixer, musician, the maestro behind the scenes. Together, they make comfort music for Gen Xers. In 2 days, they're releasing Dancing with Angels, and spoiler alert, it is awesome and it's ambitious. So welcoming them with me tonight is none other than Metalhead Mundy.
Hello, hello.
You didn't get a theme song tonight because we just need to get chatting with these guys.
I'm good with that. No, the attention does not need to be on me tonight. We have guests, so that's all good.
I was afraid that Mr. Rozon would hear it and want to steal it and start sampling it because the theme song is so good.
Well, so. It is that for sure.
All right. So we're going to welcome to the show Michael Ciravolo and Michael Rozon.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Guys.
You guys have a rare treat, this guy on camera.
Well, we've enjoyed his work. He's one of those guys behind the scenes, doesn't always get a lot of the credit. And talking to you, he deserves a lot of credit. So I'm glad we get to have him on tonight. Yeah. I will get into it later, but I'd really like to talk about at some point tonight the dynamic between you two in the creation of the music, especially the fact that you guys work with lyricists and people who are not with you in the studio sending you music and how all that connection works.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. And, I think we've been really blessed with the fact that it's never been something that comes back that we go, what are we going to do with this? And then have Michael turn to me and go, you're going to have to tell him it sucks. So thankfully that hasn't happened because
didn't Geddy Lee send something?
Yeah, he did tell Geddy.
I can mute you. I'm just going to say it now.
But yeah, we both certainly value everybody's input into this, and we don't take anybody's time or talent, for granted. No one's making money off of this, so they're doing it for the right reasons. It's an honest collaboration, and as we've kind of gotten further into these albums, I think we've learned, the two of us, how to collaborate even more with the artist by sort of leaving more space and kind of then working with what they send us back and then filling in the holes around them. And I don't think we did that so much on the first record, but it worked out, so not complaining, but I think we've gotten better with that fact of how we work.
So I'm pretty sure we've covered this before when we've had you on, but for anyone who hasn't heard, you basically do the music, and then do you present that to a singer and just have them say, hey, do something with this, throw lyrics on this? Are you giving them a finished song? Is it more collaboration than that? Like, how does that process work?
It's probably 80% finished. We leave room, like on this new record, Ashton did do a little arrangement, like cut a few parts, extended something, but we certainly give them the opportunity to do that. Usually the songs that's sent to them, and it just has a drum machine loop or something that Michael's programmed, so it's easy enough to go, hey, if you want to extend this part or something like that, we totally give them the freedom to do that. Every record I pretty much have just sent them the song and the title of the record, and kind of let them take it from there. And thankfully, we find great singers and even lyricists that write great songs that are open-ended, not rock and roll party songs. I think they get it. Some are more famous than others, but fame doesn't equal talent. I think on this record, like Leo is fantastic. You know,
Yes.
Cynthia is fantastic. You know, and they don't have the name cachet as Wayne or Ashton and Patrick, but certainly brings a lot to the table, and that's become a joy of doing this. It's not always about, well, fuck, how do we top, you know, first record we had Robin Zander and Al Jorgensen, Ice-T. How do we top that? I mean, we never would have been able to top that, you know, and it just kind of evolved into something that's really special.
I was going to ask a question.
You always give them some direction with the lyrics.
Oh.
You always give them like, make it about beauty and chaos. That idea.
Well, I think we've in the beginning, it's always been explained like why we did the name Beauty in Chaos, and always kind of put the little, hey, one person's beauty is different from another person's beauty. Everyone has beauty and chaos in their life, and you know, it's different for everyone. And I think the songs that come back are open-ended, that where it's not obvious what the singer is singing about, where you can kind of inject yourself like, oh, they're singing that to me. I know what they went through. I dealt with that. And to me, those are the songs that last the longest, that are a bit more open-ended, where you can't, it's not so black and white. And, you know, we've been really fortunate to keep finding, you know, I get told, you guys are so great at matching the right singer to the song. And I don't know. It's luck, divine intervention, something. It just seems to work.
You mentioned the album title, sending them that. Do you kind of try to use the album title as kind of a vague, overarching theme that you're looking for in the lyrics?
It's, you know, it's not meant for them to write necessarily about, and I'm certainly not putting my faith or anything on anyone else. It just, you know, I think everyone can agree in this kind of screwed up world, we can use a lot of angels right now, whatever your angel may be. And a couple of the singers, you know, there are lines that mention angels, whether it means what I thought. It was just, you know, originally the record was going to be called Echoes and Angels. And Leo kind of took it and made a song about it. And then a friend of mine in Germany, Maren, had sent a painting, or the beginning of a painting, and the girl looked like a dancing angel. And it just seemed to fit, and it went with that. But I mean, definitely, to be clear, the lyrics and everything is really on the singer. It is a true collaboration.
Okay, I've got a question from a viewer, and I was going to ask something very similar, and this was for both of you. Do you have a favorite collaboration that you've had on these three records? Well, plus.
Well, actually, this is 4. 4 studio albums. I mean,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was 3 plus, well, you had 2 remixes and
4, Finding Beauty, Storm Before the Calm, Behind the Veil.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'll go first. It's hard to say. It kind of changes. It's like, to me, it's like going, what's your favorite kid? You know, I listen to them differently. You know, I think right now it actually might be Cynthia's track Hollow that I've listened to more, and I kind of had this feeling that maybe we put it a little too late in the album, because it always starts tapping me on the shoulder with this, you know, people's attention span. Are they going to get through and get to that? I felt that way on the first album with Evie's track, I Will Follow You, which it's still one of my favorite songs that we've done, that putting it so late in the album that maybe it got overlooked. But I mean, if we concerned ourselves too much with people's attention span and wanting to get right to the chorus, this project or band is not for them. So I would say right now, if you ask me that question in a week, it would probably change. But.
Right.
Hollow is a great choice, though, and the imagery of that song is beautiful. I love that one.
Yeah.
What's your fave?
The Evie track?
No, I think he wants on this album.
Oh, on this album.
That could be any album. It was they didn't specify.
Probably. Well, on this album, it's probably the Wayne track. Like
Okay.
Wayne sent us his vocal, but it's pretty distorted. It's like he had some issues, but the track he wrote, the vocal he wrote, is amazing. It's probably the best song on the album, I think. That and Evie Vine's voice on that first album it's amazing. I don't know what it is, why it speaks to you or translates in some way, but it does that thing. And we had some serious heavy duty singers on there, but and she's kind of essentially unknown compared to Robin Zander or Al Jurgensen. But it was amazing. She was.
Yeah, I think Diving for Pearls is probably one of the best songs we've written. I mean, it has all of the elements of, I kind of, part of me wishes there was still MTV 120 Minutes going. That song and video and everything would be a smash. And with Wayne, it's always the same thing. It's like, hey, man, what do you think about doing this? It's like, oh, Michael, I'd love to. I'm just so out of words. I'm this and this. Then send him the song. And he sends back this beautiful piece of that's almost poetry that just starts as a love song and kind of just twists to this breakup at the end, which I think he's one of those writers that won't say what it's about or who it's about, which is great because everybody has probably been through that in their life.
Oh, yeah.
You can go, he's talking to me. And those are the songs that last. But yeah, that song's beautiful. And I thought Cynthia's parts just kind of somewhat being the antagonist at parts, the love interest, or however you wrap that song up is just absolutely gorgeous.
I agree. It's interesting because you picked two of the songs that in my review that I wrote, and there were two of the ones I looked at most highly. So that's good. Yeah, loving it. So you've done this 4 times now. So where, like in the future, where do you go? Like, where does this expand to? Is there a larger plan at play? Is it the live version we've talked about? So we can come and watch.
I'm kind of surprised. It's surreal that it's kind of has gone this way. It really could have died on the vine when this guy turned around in this very chair and said, "Why don't you do your own record?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then it's like, okay, fuck, what does that mean? Now I got to do it. And then
Al Jurgensen showing up, then, Robin Zander showing up.
Then I'm like, I think it was Al and Robin back to back, and he went, I think this can actually happen. But no one wants to hear a guitar player solo record, especially not mine. I'm not that kind of player. And it could have died on the vine after the first one, that it's like, okay, I did what I wanted. I kind of went into the record a little bit out of frustration and anger and wanting to prove something to myself. And that first record certainly checked all the boxes. It was a big fuck you to whoever I wanted to say it to. At that point, I could do this, that we could do this. And I'm so proud of that record coming out that it doesn't sound like a mishmash compilation. It did what we wanted, where I just had my rule of going, I don't want keyboards on this. I want to do the guitar textures, and Michael worked tirelessly with pedals and bows and e-bows and anything we could to make textures. And so we made that, and then it just... The remix thing kind of happened. I've said that story a bunch by mistake almost. That just led to going, hey, this is pretty cool. Turning over the tracks, the whole keys to the car, going, drive this how you see. And then we did another record. And I think I love Storm Before the Calm. I think that's just a cohesive album. And then Behind the Veil's beautiful. They each have their little bit of... kind of like little preconceived boxes we put ourselves in, but beyond that, it's not like we want to make a record like this. So I think I've tangent away from your question, where does it go next? We're actually part of the way into a follow-up remix record. We've
Nice.
while we were doing this, we're sending stems to different people. Gotten probably 4 or 5 back. And just while we're in here, we're actually thinking of putting a song or 2 covers on it, just to have like these couple of little bonus things on it, and then we'll take it from there. I would hate to see this end without doing it live. I just don't know how, when, or where. I know
It's kind of a logistical nightmare.
Well, there's enough
There's so many
singers.
singers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would never do it where we would have somebody, hey, have Ashton come. He could do his stuff, and he also can sing deep. He
Right.
could do Wayne stuff. I mean, he
Yeah.
wouldn't do it, and we wouldn't do it. But if we put this together, it'd be like Field of Dreams. They would come. What I don't know what would come is if people would come. LA is so jaded, and I don't know. I would hate to do this. The work involved, not just our time, other people coming in their time and doing it, and have the LA 200 people show up like this. Hey, can I get on the guest list? And I just don't know. If we would do it, I would love to do it in Mexico City or some place in Europe where we have a stronger fan base that actually listens to the songs. So now I'm soapboxing about live in, but he's worked a lot with ministry. He knows how to do the stems and everything, because this would certainly need some of the textures and stuff to make it at least have some of the realm of the album. And I mean, all these singers are great. There's no like, how's that person going to sing live? All these artists would kill it. So maybe it'll happen, but we're pretty much set for the end of the year. There are 2 more videos that have been filmed in
Nice.
the editing stage now. And we're working on the remix record that may come out in December.
Awesome.
What's the
Yeah.
show?
We had another
On that?
viewer question.
That'd be one of the 2 covers.
Okay.
And then I'll let you get to that, Mundy. Another person had asked about the lyrics and the music and the flow of that, and you've kind of answered that. So, but I want to add a piece to that. So you talked about, you get the music, you send it to a person. How do you decide what music to send to what? Like, you picked new people for this one. How did you decide which music went to Cynthia or went to Leo? Like, how does that work?
I don't know if I have a method to that madness. I listened to it and something I think Cynthia's was more obvious because I'd seen her live, and I knew she had that shoegazy, Rachel Goswell type voice, that the airiness would work with that. Julian was the one who turned me on to Leo, and I mean, that song just turned out so good and different. It's like to have a male singer that has that kind of range, like sandwiched on a record that has Wayne, Ashton, and Julian, who's got these big booming baritone, and even William Faith. All 4 of those guys are, can hit some pretty crazy low stuff and then have the range of Leo. I don't know. It's luck. I hear something and it says send it. I think there was just one song on this record, and I don't remember which one it was that I did. And I think one of you guys is a friend and fan of Steven Siebold. I'd sent it to
Yeah.
because we both love Almost Pure. I think that's a fantastic song. And Steven was going through some personal stuff. He tried, and he just wrote, man, I'm not happy. And he sent me something, and I liked it. And he's just going, I don't think it's up to what I want. I don't think it's up to what you want. And I don't remember what piece of music that was. But he is doing a remix for us on this record, which he used to do a lot in the early Hate Department days. So I think he's doing Holy Ground. So I'm really looking forward to seeing his industrial spin on that song.
Well, speaking of industrial stuff and the remix album, I get super excited about when you talk about doing remix projects, because as a fan of industrial music, I'm wearing my Stabbing Westward shirt. That's they have always been super open to remixes, and like KMFDM has done so many, Nine Inch Nails has done so many, and on Ministry, everybody. Is that kind of where you take that idea from, or is that something you guys have always loved, or how did you decide that you wanted to do the remix projects?
Well, it started out of necessity because Tim Palmer, on the first record, I sent him Man of Faith, and he added keyboards and played some additional guitar, and it came back, and it was great, but he failed to get the memo, and I'm like, fuck, he's one of my favorite producers ever. How do I tell him, hey man, the mix is great. Could you take your freaking keyboards and the guitar out of this? It was just that little thing. If it would have been on the second record, it would have been fine. This one, I was just adamant about that. And it just went, well, hey, maybe we can do a remix record, which was wonderful because it led to The Long Goodbye, the piano version of that, which is stellar. Michael's string line to that is absolutely beautiful. Wayne's voice is fantastic. I love Ashton's acoustic version of Storm. So it kind of unfolded. I mean, it's not for everybody. I still look as the original as being the be all end all, but some of them are really an interesting take on them, and everybody does something different. It's not just like like Monday, what you were talking about, some of those records, like they just, we'll distort the drum and we'll drop in, we'll pull in a sample drum CD, Helter Skelter, and drum. They're more in depth than that. Some remixes will go, just send me the tempo and the vocal tracks. It's like
hip hop reminds me a lot of that. There's a lot of hip hop remixes where they just basically take the vocal and totally redo the song.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Bentley has done a couple, and one of them is extremely BPM. It makes you want to head out on a dance floor if one was so inclined to do that. Do amyl nitrate and take your shirt off. And, he brought the tempo up, and it had all those elements. And he did one of Stranger that he actually wrote an additional verse and sang. And then Kid Electro has done some that are really stark and very drum machine precise. Not a lot of stuff going on. They're real icy feeling. So they're all really, really different. And I mean, it's just something that I enjoy. I think he likes some of them. Some of them he'll go, but it's kind of nice to hear what someone else, like Julian's really good at when it comes back. It's like, wow, he changed the chords under that, but it works, and to me, it's interesting to see how musically that kind of works.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I had asked that question earlier about the future, and that was precisely because on this record, you got pretty experimental and you added the halos. And so I wanted to talk with Michael. Sorry, which one? Mr. Rozon a little bit about the work on the halos, specifically number 5. It absolutely blew me away. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the creation of that one. When I heard the saxophone, I was just instantly like, oh my God, like what did he do here? It was so cool.
So 5 is the set. We never did really name any of them, so sometimes I'm kind of. So that is the
Mars, So he's on the track that Bloodletting that we released, and I think Mars was still alive then, and then Mars died, and then so Michael wanted to do something with him. And we actually, because where it ended up, we had to tune the track way down, like a fourth or something, so that it made sense coming out of where it was coming and where it was going. And I think it's a beautiful tribute to Mars. I think he would hear that today and he'd go, "That's fucking amazing. That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much."
I hope so. I struggled with it. I know he really liked it, and I do really love it. And I would hear it, and then I would kind of get a little sad because I've only met the guy once, and he was so kind and everything to us to be part. I thought he made bloodletting something really special.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to come across like we were, doing something sacrilege, like
using him.
So it's only in the small print, that Mars is on it. I didn't want to go, featuring Mars William of the Psychedelic Furs.
Posthumously.
Yeah, but he had sent a lot of tracks, a lot of parts for bloodletting. It's like, hey, I'm sending you this, and hey, I check your email. I sent you another. I gave it another go. So we had these parts, and I think I just got this new Chase Bliss pedal, and it was doing this little weird, little repetitive picking thing, and it just Michael stop there, and it just kind of swelled, and then he brought in the sax and put it in this crazy hall reverb that put it back, and it would move forward. And I hope I really like to think what Michael says is true, that he's up there and going, that's cool, man. I think he would have said yes to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Michael, when I heard that, I instantly reached out to you and asked who it was. I didn't know who it was, and I absolutely loved it that much. So there was no influence on me just because it was a famous saxophonist.
Yeah. I mean, that guy, he's such a big part of some of my favorite Psychedelic Furs records. And he was an amazing performer. I definitely missed.
And you mentioned the bloodletting, and that actually, I didn't know you were going to throw that on the end of this. I'm glad you did, because when you guys released that song specifically, but that entire Concrete Blonde album is just absolute perfection, and I think they are a highly underrated band. But your guys' cover of that is it's like it takes the vibe of the song that is already a little creepy, kind of kind of spooky, kind of and you guys just crank that up to 10, and you slowed it down, and it's just it almost gives you chills. It reminds me, the video kind of not that it looks like it or anything like that, but it kind of reminds me of watching the Thriller video. It's it comes on and you're like, oh, what is this?
We were going to do this whole dance sequence. I mean, thank you for saying that. I did get a short message from Johnette, and she said she thought it was really good. So
awesome.
That's a nice nod. How that song came about, us doing it, this guy was playing pedal steel with Jerry Cantrell, and Tish and I flew to New Orleans to see him play. And Michael's girlfriend, Kiki, and Tyler Bates was playing guitar. So being that I went down there, suddenly I was the tour guide. So I was like, oh, let's go through the French Quarter. And we went to the Dungeon and a few places. And we're just walking down a couple of little creepy side streets. And you'll pass one club, and there's a jazz club, and this guy was just wailing on this saxophone. And then another club, you just hear some bass and somebody singing gospel. And then we passed this little doorway, and it almost looked like a Halloween decoration.
That woman in the box.
Yeah, this woman popped out of this box on the ground and just went and went back in. And we kept walking. I went, did you fucking see that? So I took 2 steps back, and then I looked at the box going, the box is only 2 feet by 2 feet. How did someone, and I'm just went, this is New Orleans. I was born and raised there. Anything's possible. So we kept walking, and I just Michael had that cool drum groove that sounded very Chain Gang sounding, that it was going to be used for something he was working on, and it didn't get used. And we just kind of built it around that, and it was good, it was when Morris sent the sax to it, it just kind of went,
Oh, good.
all right, this like the chorus, the ways and means to New Orleans,
Yeah.
this sounded like New Orleans voodoo, and it made it something special. So I put it on just it, you know, again, we did that song and a version of Kiss Me Goodbye at a time that Michael was going in and out of working with ministry, and I started having this, oh, maybe we should just do a couple of string of singles. And then I finally went, it doesn't make sense to me, like not doing something as an album, like just doing, like, I felt like going, we're catering to the TikTok world of here's one song, you know, now the next song we'll do it. It just didn't feel right. So we kind of redid Kiss Me Goodbye. We had Dirk play the drums just to make them cohesive. And just on the end of that, I went, well, hell, let's throw Bloodletting on it. Maybe people missed it, you know? So.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I guess for those who are listening, we've been talking about this record quite a bit. It's 8 songs, 8 soundscapes, and 2 extras, 2 bonuses. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's hefty. Let everybody know, like, if you were to go to beautyandchaosmusic.com, like, in what different varieties could they get this? What different mediums could they pick up the music?
Well, of course, we're doing it on vinyl, and it's going to be a really beautiful multicolored vinyl that takes some of Marin's colors in the angel and hopefully kind of has an angel wing pattern on it. That's what they're telling us. That will be shipping probably in August. It just takes longer to get vinyl. Anybody who orders that, the first 100 come with some signed posters of all the order. I think you were number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Signed posters from everybody. And on the release date, which is Wednesday, they'll get the full digital download. The CD version has all this stuff on it, a whole chock full of 75 plus minutes of a sonic journey that I implore to everyone to at least take one top to bottom listen. And then there'll be a digital version too. But the streaming stuff, which will come out, it's a necessary, I hard to even spit that out. It's a necessary evil, I think, to have Apple Music, Spotify, whatever. We'll just have the 8 songs. So if somebody wants something different, it comes with the vinyl and the CD, you know.
The Halo thing, I think, is kind of an interesting departure is the wrong word, I guess. More, it's an addition to the experience. You know, you talked about giving a listen from start to finish, and that's you know, on this show, we are all about the album experience, and we love that. And too many people are all about singles, and you know, we often talk about the lull in the middle of an album. You know, you get 2 or 3 tracks, you're like, you can probably do without those. But the Halo thing on this, I think, is an interesting touch. It you know, they're just pretty much, you know, soundscapes feels right to call them that. You know, they're not exactly songs with, like, you know, verse, chorus, all that. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 have like vocalizations on them, and it's not really words or lyrics. It's just kind of sound made with a voice, you know. And
yeah, that one, I think it's Halo 2 that Whitney did. It's that song, I hear that, it always reminds me that it could be on like Peter Gabriel's So or something. It just has that.
Sure.
And people are probably going, what the hell's Beauty and Chaos got to do with Peter Gabriel? But I mean, they were all different. Some of them are repetitive and hypnotic. Some of them just evolve. And when Michael and I first started working together years ago in a thing called Drain the Doves, he did this little side thing, and he probably doesn't know that's kind of where I nicked this from. He did a thing called X Textures, which was just soundscapes. He would take people's phone messages and put on them, and it was just kind of creepy. But he did put it out as a cassette. I mean, Nine Inch Nails kind of did it with Ghosts. You know, they
Yeah.
did some soundscapes, but I wanted to do this on the first record, you know, and there was just no time. I mean, we had to actually trim at the last minute, had to cut a chorus out of Unnatural Disaster to make it fit on a CD. So there was no way of doing it. But yeah, 14 song. And I wasn't, you know, we joked a lot about going, let's just give a big middle finger to everybody and just make it one. You put the CD in, it says track 1, 75 minutes and 40 something seconds. And like if we're going to commit even more commercial suicide, but I think we did it kind of clever. You know, if someone doesn't want to hear it, I mean, he had a blast doing it. It's definitely for people who want to listen in headphones. You know, there's a lot of things going on front to back, side to side. And I think he really got to do his mixing magic on those, not having me behind him going, holding the lyrics going, can you bring that word up? I don't know if I hear her say and there. This was more just like making this texture. And it was designed to sort of be a lull between each song. You know, I mean, some of them do have some bits of abrasiveness in them, but for the most part, it does take a little sonic step down to give the listener a little bit of a break and kind of do like, what the hell's this? And then a song comes on. I mean, that's why I sent it to you first. I figured you would understand it, you know. So
yeah, I really felt like number 1 could have been the first song on the record. It could have been a beautiful entry into the record.
Yeah,
we talked about, should we put, because I think there was 1 or 2 more Halos that just kind of that were sitting there that we didn't go back to, but Present Tense has kind of such this long feedback intro.
yeah.
It almost felt to me that I think I went, well, that's almost a Halo on its own, doing that. And then we're trying to go, do we want to crossfade songs? Then when you crossfade, where do you put the ID on the CD? So it came with a lot of weird nuances. But I think we did really well for the medium we had to work with.
I think you made the correct choice there, because I think the Halos, that song does have a great intro, and it works as an intro. And then when you get into the record, you hear the Halos, and I feel like they work and they make sense. Putting one of those at the beginning and then going into that song that has already kind of an intro part, like I think you made the right choice.
It might have been too much. And now that I'd mentioned it, I think maybe as we start compiling this remix record, maybe we'll go back and listen to the Halos that just sat to see if it was on to something, or if they sat because they weren't very good. And if one or both of them are good, maybe they kind of peek into this remix record or something. Who knows? But
very cool.
I hope people get it. You know, I think some people might think we're being a bit self-indulgent, and maybe in a way we were, but it is our record.
Yeah, who cares?
We are really championing this idea of listen to it top to bottom at least once, you know, the way you're supposed to listen to Disintegration or Dark Side of the Moon or something. And sure as shit not comparing us to those masterpieces, but the idea that you don't skip around those things.
Yeah, a good record is placed in order for a reason. And
we spent a lot of time with the track order to figure the why it should, you know, one thing should go in the next. And we do think in terms of flipping the album over, like, you know, oh, that would be a great side too. And then sometimes my head goes, the hell am I thinking about? Somebody's going to skip through, but then I go, fuck it. No, that's what they're supposed to do. And we go back, I'm a 14-year-old kid. No, you skip that over and you put the needle on and you listen to it all the way through. You know, Suffragette City is supposed to follow Ziggy Stardust. You know, you don't skip one.
So we've talked about it a little bit off air. And we've just talked about vinyl and stuff, and this TikTok thing you're trying to avoid. Why is it so important for you to stick to an old model, to stick to vinyl, to CDs, to an album concept? What is it that makes that so important for you?
Well, you know what? Like, let me interject something here. Let's say someone were to read a book, and they were to read the chapters out of order. Would it make any sense?
Not to me.
Not to you. So I think that's why he does that, because he wants, like, people, okay, listen to this, now go here, now go here, now go here, and then you're going to get the full experience. You're not just listening to it in any ridiculous order that you want to, you know?
Well, I think you make a good point, and that's part of the reason we do albums on the shows. We love that concept, and I think just as books have declined a little bit in readership, we're seeing the same thing in the music industry as well.
Track listing is a big deal. That's, you know, we all, you know, we're younger than you, but we come from a time where that's.
Wait, what are you saying?
I'll say I am.
All right.
Steve's, you know, but you know, that's, you know, I came up in the 80s, 90s, and that's track listing is a huge deal. And that, yes, people, you know, they get, you know, nerves and ulcers about, oh, which song is going to go in which order. And that I think is part of the art form. You know, if someone is making an album and their chosen art form is music, they want to present it a certain way.
Yes.
And that art form has sadly gone by the wayside. And I love it. I appreciate the effort that goes into that. And I understand the effort that goes into that. And it makes an experience.
Well, that's what music used to be. And I guess, you know, you get nostalgic, or I know I do, from back my teen years. I mean, the album purchase was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and that was how you found out everything. That those liner notes, you found out who did what and why. And sometimes you saw the only pictures that were available there. But, you know, as an artist, there's something that's gratifying about that 12-inch square with the artwork suddenly means more. You know, we've made a couple of the records open up, you know, with beautiful pictures. You know, the lyrics are front and center on stuff. You know, it's like, what's going to be on the label? And I, like Michael says, I think when someone puts a vinyl on one, it makes them listen to it on a stereo. It's like they're not sitting there going, something that he's toiled over mixing in here to hear it on this fucking thing going, wow, you don't hear any of that. There's no low end, there's no panning, there's no so for the most part, the person that's purchased an album is going to listen on something that they do hear the subtleties of it. So I think that's win-win right there. And I think for the most part that if someone puts the needle down in 20, 21, 22 minutes, whatever you put on that one side, they're probably going to give you that attention for at least that. You know, they're going to sit down and hear it that way. So we take that in the thing, like, will those 4 songs do they sound like they should go? Then if they come home for work and they flip it over and listen to the other 4, you know, it's a romantic notion, but again, it's those things. I think it's how it's just for a person that has a more sophisticated ear and wants to hear music, not just on, I don't even know what size speakers in an iPhone. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. And you put headphones on that the bass is pumped up to where it's unrealistic. And you know, I don't know. I understand it's a hard thing. Records are expensive. Thankfully, Tim, who runs the little label, throws caution to the wind. He's like, full color this. Yeah, yes, we'll do printed sleeve. Yeah, you want to do the colored vinyl? They do this one like Angels. Yeah. And we do it. And I mean, I know someone that purchases our record. We have seemingly a bigger fan base in Europe that when they buy a record from here, it costs as much to ship it to Europe
Yeah.
with customs and due. It's a
Mhm.
$50 pretty much investment
Mhm.
to purchase an album, and that's not lost on us. We are trying to send some albums, and I think we are doing this to a friend that fulfills the mission stuff in the UK that I think will bring down the price into most places in Europe, but it's still an investment, and someone gets it. It's like VAT, customs duty. It's like, I mean, how much more can be against the idea of doing physical music where someone goes, oh fuck it, I'm just going to stream it, you know?
Mhm.
One thing, you touched on something that we have been talking about recently. We've been doing this series where we're talking about albums that kind of influenced our ear and what we listen to, throughout our lives and all of that. And one thing we talked about was intention, listening with intention. And that is so lost these days. And,
It's background music.
yes, you used to, like, you'd buy an album, a cassette, a CD, and you'd go home and you'd put it in, and you're so excited to have it, and you sit and just listen to it. And I don't feel like that happens that often anymore.
I mean, I get the streaming thing, the convenience, but if anybody thinks that they're supporting, and this is not just talking about Beauty and Chaos, any artist, if you think your $9.99 that you pay Apple Music or Spotify does anything to keep an artist doing music, you're sadly mistaken. People seemingly are happy to go to Starbucks and get a super grande caramel macchiato with extra foam and and suddenly it's this and this, and then they spin the thing around, it's tipped 20-30%, and you spend $15 on a coffee. But yet when it goes to music, it's like, oh, I'll just stream it. There is this thing of convenience. If you're in a car or something, that, oh, I got satellite, I can just that. But that's not, I will say it, and I try to practice this. If you like what an artist does, a band, try to purchase something by them. If you want to hear them continue to do it, we're both fortunate that this doesn't pay our rent or put food on table for our families. And Tim, who runs the label, it doesn't do the same for him, but it's an expense for sure. And I think I sat there and added, I mean, the two of us spent over 1,000 hours making this album. I mean, but I'm not trying to sound like a carnival barker, like buy that. It's just, there is something, like you said, this experience, and you listen to it uninterrupted. And I used to do that as a kid. I would, even a track that I didn't like, the third song on whatever, like it didn't hit me the first time, I would still listen to it. And I would usually find by like my 8th listen of it, I started really liking that song,
One of my favorite things to do as a teenager was to go into my bedroom, put music on, put my headphones on, turn the light off, and just like get lost in it. And I used to do that all the time. I never do anything like that anymore.
I mean, I know people, there's so much more. We also didn't have, I mean, now you have 500 TV stations, and how many times you guys sit there and go, I don't know what to watch.
Yeah.
There's too much choice, but there is a thing of sitting there with headphones on that in great records and even great produced albums, which this guy makes, you hear something different each time. It's like, wow, I didn't notice that. There's a clap, or there's a piece of metal clanging on this part that maybe you don't hear it on the first time. And there's things that are in there, and that shit's lost, but we do it because we like it. If we walk out, we high five each other. We made another record that we feel is great. Then anybody else that enjoys it, I sincerely appreciate them taking the time. I know time is precious, and I probably had a lot more time as a 15-year-old kid than I do now in my life. But
yeah, there's not a lot of times I lay on the bed with the liner notes out, reading them as I listen to music anymore.
But I don't even know how many, like we do like when we send the digital version to anybody who buys any of our physical copies, gets the full digital thing, and we lay out the full digital thing in a PDF form, like, here, hey, you're getting it digitally, but we want you to have all this. It was criminal when I looked at how few people that some of them paid for the digital version, but didn't even bother to download that part. There isn't that, I don't know, there's not that desire to know that stuff anymore. Maybe you can find it online. I think we do a good job on our website of highlighting lyrics and credits and quotes from the artist, but it's again, lost art form.
Yeah, I mean, I have run into that doing our podcast. If we're reviewing something, I hear something, I'm like, oh, I wonder who played that, and it is hard to just find without buying a physical copy. It's almost impossible to find credits on albums sometimes.
Yeah. And it's hard to determine what instrument was used sometimes too, because of how tricky people like Mr. Rozon are in the background.
It gets put down as textures.
Master of textures.
I mean,
Bastard of texture.
Bastard of texture. I mean, it's I mean, you're seeing our studio. This is where we do the stuff in. There's various little boxes that we just kind of, the thing is that we have a lot of fun making this. I get, like, usually the last, after the first 90% done, I'm the one that's getting edgy. It's like, we got to get it to mastering. The publicist, we've announced a release date. With this. So all that kind of stress, and then it finally comes, and it's just like, I mean, we're sitting here looking in less than 2 days. Our 4th studio album is coming out. Not a lot of bands can say they've put out that much music, and music that we're really proud of.
Especially in a very relatively short period of time.
Yeah,
really.
Years, and there's 4 records and a bunch of remix records too. It's like there's a lot of stuff like that.
And nothing's been rushed. I mean, it's
it's not like just get stuff out there. It's never like that.
Yeah, it's a passion project for you too.
Yeah.
So now you're in front of each other. Do you like working with each other? Be honest. There are other ones listening.
You know what? Like, we used to play in this band years ago. So we had developed a bunch, because he's got a great sense of humor. I have a crazy sense of humor. So we had a bunch of jokes. And then the band broke up eventually. And then I ended up working in the studio a lot. And he ended up running Schecter. So for about 10 or something years, we'd see each other once in a while. And the jokes were always from 10 years ago. So now that we're doing this thing, and we've been doing this now for a couple of years, it's like we've developed a whole other set of a whole different type of sense of humor. It's the same sense of humor, but
it's
new
twisted.
Jokes, new things to relate to adhere to,
I mean, it's a blast.
So that's great. That part is just fucking great.
He's got a critical ear, and I've learned a lot. And I think, I've never really looked at myself as a guitar, basically an average guitarist, but he pushes me and he makes me better. I've learned a lot more theory, some more than I care to, but it's starting to register. Like this record, after learning some of that on the last one, I did go off and go, well, I'm going to come back and throw him some curveballs, and did have some guitars come in with some different tunings, and saw his face when I walked in and put a capo on a guitar, and then he's playing, and he's like, what's that there? And it's like, that he goes the little keyboard here, and it's like, oh, that's a D major 7th with I think that's a 13th on the top. And it's like, yeah. What do you think? So I did come back, and on this record there is some things, because I think as a player and attempting to be a songwriter, you get into some kind of familiar patterns, and it's like, fuck, I've done this before. I always go E minor to A minor. It's like, so now changing the tuning and doing this, and So we're always looking new boxes, like, wow, look at this. This does this and do that. And then it just kind of, it develops organically. And it's fun to make it kind of like be part of the process in here of seeing this kind of evolve from, I mean, I rarely walk in here with going, hey, here's a complete song. It's like, hey, I got these 2 parts, or I got this sound. And usually by night 2, it's heading down the path of being something. I don't know if a lot of people could say that. We leave here laughing, you know.
That's
Well,
a good day.
You just talked about music theory and all that, and the Rozon can just hear all these little things. Were you trained? Did you go to music school, or is this all self-taught through time?
He's talking to you. He ain't talking to me.
I used to play drums I'm from Montreal originally, so I was playing drums there on the TV shows and all that. And at some point, I was like, "Oh, let me learn piano." So I went to some heavy-duty teachers, and I was very lucky because I didn't do it for a long time. It was like a couple of years, but I was very lucky early on. Like one of the teachers in particular showed me a lot, like just really try to explain the whole thing, and it just really registered. So I had that to draw from. And it, some point I was playing a lot of piano, and then eventually I was like, well, you don't want to be a pianist, you just want to understand what's going on, like how this whole thing works together. So the person gave me that, which was amazing. So I was lucky enough to hold on to that, and often today I still use a lot of that stuff,
Yeah. And he did most of the bass on this record and probably most on all of the album. And he's actually a really good guitar player and a crazy good pedal steel player that I finally got him to, I think it's, I don't know which Halo. There's one Halo that's based around the pedal steel. That is, I'm really happy that we got him to play that on there because it's pretty haunting.
Yeah.
There was one song specifically that I wanted to ask you about just because I think it's interesting. You had Cat Leon on a track before this, maybe more than one, but that led me to, well, all of us really, to Holy Wars, and we've had them on the show, and their recent output, I feel like they've gotten increasingly heavier, which is really cool because I'm the metalhead. So, but this song, when I saw her name on it, I was like, oh, I wonder what this will be, and I was like, oh, this is not like the stuff she's been doing on her own. So, how did you pick that song for her and kind of bring her into a more mellow pocket with that song with Devil You Know?
I think that Kat has that side. I'm lucky. I've been friends with her and her boyfriend partner in Holy Wars, Nick, for 3+ years now. And
yeah.
I mean, this song vocally isn't a big departure from Stranger. I've heard songs that she's done under Cat Leon that she sings like this. I mean, Holy Wars has gotten heavier, and they're a hard-working band. They're 2 fantastic humans that deserve it. I'm in awe at how hard they both work at it, and they're moving up the level. They just came back today from 2 festivals, and they're kind of middle of the bills now with some pretty heavy hitters at the top. And I think she enjoys having this outlet. I mean, it wouldn't. At one point, we'll probably do a heavy song and go, "Hey, go ahead, be Cat Leon on this," But I do think she. I mean, obviously, you listen to it. Her phrasing, her vocals, her lyrics are just fantastic. And I think she likes having that outlet. And Nick is going to do a remix of the song, so it'll probably be more toward having Westward. And I give him free reign, going, dude, replace the guitars, play heavy, have you got a studio if you want to have her sing stuff again. But yeah, it's great people, and that's a really great song. I think the bridge section in there when that comes up is one. It's one of several moments on this album that kind of give me chills, and that's a moment there.
Great.
Wow. That is awesome. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but in
Well,
the
good.
spirit of what we've been doing on the show with our 10 influential albums, I can't let you get out of here without telling us yours. If you could each pick three to five, what are the most influential albums that have influenced your taste through the years? We did it chronologically. We went all the way back to the 70s and came up through, but what are some albums that people might want to know influenced where you are today? I like how you passed that over. That was good.
I listen to Tom Waits' Mule Variations a lot. That
Nice.
record. There's a couple of songs on there that, like, I'd look it up and I'd go like, "Whoa, there's no way he wrote this." And it's like you'd see that him and his wife wrote that, and it's just
Right.
like, holy shit. I listen to Bjork Vespertine a lot. That's a record she did.
Yeah.
She has a harp player. She's got these two guys making electronic sounds. She's got 10-piece women's choir from Greenland, actually. And then she's got a full orchestra in the pit. And one of my friends saw the show in Europe, and I was like, "How was that?" And he was like, "I was in tears the whole time. I was sobbing the whole time." So I listen to that a lot, Vespertine.
That's two.
That's
Yeah.
two. There's a song that Gillian Welsh does. I don't know who plays guitar with her. I forget his name. Anyways, they're doing a cover of a song. They do Hickory Wind with pedal steel player Greg Leese, and it's like, that's unbelievable. It's like one of those magic moments in music that I always listen to, and I'll send people. I was like, check this out. It's like unbelievable. Yeah,
You're not going to throw Psalm 69 in there?
I appreciate it. I don't necessarily listen to it though.
Al, are you listening?
Well, Al, on the
Oh,
show,
fuck.
we've talked about it, and we all listen to it. So
Yeah.
All right, Monica, probably. Are you done?
Oh,
Got
yeah.
no more? All right, here we go. Ziggy Stardust, either Electric Warrior or The Slider by T-Rex.
Okay.
Disintegration, Loveless, My Bloody Valentine.
Oh yeah. That's great.
Mirror Moves, The Psychedelic Furs. Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers, LAMF.
wow, that was
All
easy.
right.
You guys just knocked those out. That was
Yeah,
good.
I could probably go a few more.
Well, we did 10, so
As a kid, when I was more into the rock side of things, I would put Aerosmith Rocks as any of the Lords in the New Church records. First
okay.
one, New York Dolls first record. Yeah, those are all that are big things in my life.
That's awesome. Is there any new music that you guys have gravitated to? Because it's easier than ever to find new music, but it's harder than ever to find new albums. It seems like, because they just get drowned out.
Yeah, that's really a tough one. I do like the new Holy Wars EP. I thought that was really great. This is probably not new, but my daughter was playing it. It was something PJ Harvey and Tom York for Radiohead did together. I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Surprising.
I know. I feel like kind of a hypocrite going not really listening to new music. I do have a bootleg of what the new Cure record, Songs from the End of the World or the Lost World. Someone did a beautiful live recording off the board. And when Robert ever puts that out, that is going to be the record that follows up the trilogy of Pornography, Disintegration, Blood Flowers. In this, it's absolutely heart-wrenching and deep. So I guess that doesn't count, being that it's not out yet.
I'm going to count it because I'm
yeah.
excited.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and find it. It's pretty special. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been listening to. It's you kind of get so wrapped up in this, and I think sometimes I find myself not wanting to listen to too much other stuff while we're doing this. Our friend Tyler sent me Chelsea Wolfe, and I went, wow, that girl's, it's really good. And it's like, I don't want to draw from too much of that, I guess I'm stuck in my old ways, and I'm still waiting for the Cure, loving to, I guess I'm gonna jump back to that list, and I would put God's Own Medicine by The Mission on my Desert Island list too. So,
do you guys know Anthony from Anthony and the Johnsons?
Uh-uh.
Don't worry, I don't either.
He's like that's one of the last singers I saw that I was like, holy shit, this guy is from another planet. And it was a Leonard Cohen tribute video, and he's on the end of it. And then I went and saw him I asked my friend about it, and he's like, oh yeah, sure. So he gave me a bunch of songs of his, and I went and saw him at Disney Hall here. It's like a big classical place.
Mm-hmm.
So he had some of his band, and it was a 20-piece thing, and he's a cross-dresser. And he came on, and like after the first song, like everybody I was with, we were all in tears. It's unbelievable. It's so spiritual and beautiful. Check him out, Anthony and the Johnsons. Unbelievable.
Being that he's a cross dresser, I guess you're figuring out what the Johnson is. I just got I got us canceled.
Hey, let me put this on the screen.
I don't know if he's talking to you guys or us, but I'll take it.
He's probably talking to you guys. Julian's actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Not only did he do a great song, he's got a couple of really special remixes coming along, and he also brought Leo into the family, which is very grateful for.
That's one thing I was going to express my gratitude to you guys, because every album that you guys do, there's someone that I have not heard of that I'm like, oh my God, who is this? I got to do a deep dive on this person right now. So then oftentimes it's more than one singer. So I'm like, who is this?
That's great to hear. I actually put that in the liner notes of this record, that we, again, are asking everybody to kind of take a dive into these artists' work outside of this. I mean, it's symbiotic. You and that hi-hat. The Mission fan base has been fantastic to us.
Awesome.
And the Awakenings fan base,
yeah.
Have embraced us, and it's mutual, and Holy Wars and Whitney and Cynthia with Silence in the Snow and Lost Gems. It's kind of, this is kind of why we do it at this point is, I find a joy in finding or bringing these singers in, and again, and I never want to turn anything back to money or anything like that. They're not making a penny on this. Really, what you can do, and what I ask people to do, you like a song, who is this? So simple now. Google Cynthia and Isabella. Bam.
Yeah.
That's what she did. Patrick Mata. Bam. Patrick's song, Something Inside Me Has Died, was a fantastic MTV 120-minute song in the mid 86, 87, so I think everybody, if they dive into what these artists have done, and Julian, that guy's a chameleon,
yeah,
and he's not getting paid. Actually, I had a check for you, and Rozon took it.
I stole your check, Julian.
I was going to mail it to you, but the postage was more expensive. But so yeah, that's something that's really important to me. None of this is, first, it wouldn't be possible without this guy here, and secondly, none of it would be possible without all these singers. You know,
Yeah.
they're the ones that put it in. And I think when you listen to this, you really can hear that someone just didn't throw a microphone up in the room and spout up a bunch of, you know, verbal dribble to go, oh, you know, Michael's asking me to do something. I don't want to tell him no. Blah, 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 blah. Here you go, man.
There is not a song that you guys have put out with a guest vocalist that I'm like, they might be phoning that in a little bit. No, it's always stellar stuff. And on this album in particular, Julian and Leo just really, really impressed me. So I'm looking forward to, you know, getting deep into their catalogs.
Yeah, definitely. I really want to work with both of them again. And I think they're doing something together also, which should be fantastic.
Nice.
Like I said earlier, Leo definitely brought something different to this. I mean, not a knock on the guy, but my daughter heard it and went, "Is that a girl?" And it's like, no. And it's only because I think she's used to Ashton and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sure.
The deep stuff to have somebody that has that kind of range, it definitely brings in that sort of placebo vibe to the song, which is actually fantastic to have. And it's different. I don't think there's retread or repeats, even when we bring in people that have worked with us in the past, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think that when we talked earlier about when you set up the order of their songs, it's perfect, the ebb and flow and the highs and lows. I mean, it really does work across the record. And so it's nice when you get somebody like Leo in there, when you do have Wayne and you've got Ashton. So it's nice. If everything was just baritone, I think it would
have been a Bauhaus record.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if you're actually playing that on a CD or something, you would have Wayne, Leo, then Julian. So it is put in a good spot, you know, for that, I think. And what I try to do is I try to get the intro. I try to have what the needle drop song is, and then the outro. And as soon as Ashton had sent me Made of Rain, I went, that's the album closer. That's how the record. And when he hits the chorus of Open the Door and Let the Winter In Now, that's another one of those chill moments on this record. And then it was I just felt that that's where William and Sarah's song should be, is the intro. It kind of set the tone that this was not going to be Behind the Veil. It was going to have a little bit more of that post-rock. God, hate those terms, but that how I play guitar. Usually if I plug a guitar in, that's what you're going to get. That seemed to fit the bookends, and it was just finding how they should unfold in between.
Right.
Yeah, I love that song. It's always fun. I think the challenge when you write a review, when you try to interpret songs, is you put your version out there and you could be so off base and look like such a moron. I don't know if I was even close to his meaning, but I love that song. And I've loved all his songs. So
I think it's that thing of having the lyrics a bit open-ended, you know, to where it's fill in the blanks. If it means something to you, whether it's completely foreign to what the singer is. I mean, I think there was a couple of interviews I did with Wayne, and he refused to say what it was about or who it was about.
Yeah,
that's the lyricist's choice. It's like, I think once you go, oh, I wrote this about this girl, you know, and she broke my heart, then it's kind of, oh, it's a, you know, another.
It's a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah, pretty much. Except Julian, I think, would be happy if he was getting Taylor Swift money.
Did you see Snoop had gotten 1 billion streams, and his total payout for 1 billion streams was $45,000?
Who did? Snoop
Dogg.
Yeah.
I mean, 45 grand buys a lot of weed.
Yeah, but 1 billion, that's a big number. I mean, that just tells you how low the pay scale is.
Yeah, it's a joke. The music business let that get out of hand, you know. And I think the movie industry got a little quicker handle on it than the music industry. It's just about greed. they should have did something early on. And now when you throw the whole AI bullshit into it, it's like, I don't know. I'm glad, blessed that I grew up in the time that I did. You know, I don't think now anyone will have the same experience I did on a little black and white TV going Don Kirshner's rock concert. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, T-Rex, and seeing him playing Bang a Gong, you know, and then going into the 20th Century Boy. It's like, I want to do that, you know? I don't know if people look at that. Maybe little girls look at Taylor Swift and go, I want to get an acoustic guitar and be her. Maybe. But it's not, I don't think it's that lifelong commitment like it became with me.
Yeah.
Where there was no other choice.
Yeah. Seeing, you know, talk about like what you saw in the time period you grew up. This, the Midnight Special, that show was way before my time. Like I feel like it was started during my life, my very early lifetime, but I was not aware of that. And they've started putting all of those clips and full shows on YouTube. Yeah, man, it's so cool to go back and watch that stuff.
And a lot of those bands really played. It wasn't in the first few seasons. It wasn't. And if you go back to some of the old Grey Whistle Test stuff from England, it was or Jules, I forget, Jules Holland. We used to have like 4 or 5 bands in this kind of semicircle playing. You know, you'd sit there and going, ladies and gentlemen, the Smiths, ladies and gentlemen, the Buzzcocks, the Boomtown Rats, you know, and it's just like, what a great time in music, you know. I just don't see, fast forward 20 years from now, someone sitting here being me with a mop of hair going, you know, 2024 is such a great time of music. I'm so glad. I just don't see that, you know, and I've already seen it with my daughters. Like they had their Drake phase and it's just like, Dad, Drake. It's like, girls, I promise you next year you won't give a shit about this person. Oh, no. And then they don't. It's just, you know, it would take me 3 or 4 bad albums for an artist to bail on them. I'm done. They've lost it, you know. And you kind of supported them. You wore the flag, you know. I was a kid. I was in the fucking Kiss Army, you know, because I couldn't play Led Zeppelin or I couldn't play the Moody Blues and all that stuff. It's like, well, I can do Kiss and New York Dolls and I can play the guitar really low. And wow, there's more girls watching me than watching you guy sitting there doing all this. I mean, maybe a little too honest, but okay.
Wait, against Rush?
I did bring Fly By Night back. I pedaled back to the record store.
I'm sorry about Oh, good for you.
The woman, I can still smell the place. It was called Pied Piper Records. It was about a 150 by 30 square room that had vinyl and a little head shop. And there was this kind of woman. I think she was a woman, looked like Pat from Saturday Night Live, or Cub Coda from Brownsville Station. Had the bowl cut with these big glasses, and it just smelled of patchouli. And I'd come back, and I'm going, I'm sorry, this record's scratched. Oh, pick something else. And I brought the first New York Dolls record home, and they were in drag. And my poor mom walks in. I had it on my bed, and I had just put it on. It had Personality Crisis blasted, and she picked up the record. And she's like, "You're not having this record in this house. You need to bring it back." It's like, why? They're dressed like women. And it's like, but they're not.
At least they don't sound like them.
Yeah, that's Johnny Thunders. That's Sylvain. That's David Johansen. That's Killer Kane. And I don't care. So she went in the kitchen to make dinner, and I put it on. Put a Maxell UDXL2 in the tape player, recorded it, put it back in the thing, drove the next day with my receipt and returned it for the second Dolls album, which they weren't in drag on.
Yeah, And
They'll never
because-
have that moment.
Yeah.
they don't have the patience
Oh,
today to have those moments. And
Mhm.
as a kid, it probably was awful waiting for 120 minutes or Headbangers Ball or whatever show came on, or the band that was on Saturday Night Live. We had to wait for it. We just didn't have instant access, and I think it made those moments that much more special.
Yeah, and probably being a little older than you, I would take my bike to the little Walgreens, go grab a TV guide, which most people probably don't know what the hell that is, and thumb and see rock concert and or midnight special. And sometimes it would say who was on it. Sometimes it would just do musical guess. It's like, oh, fuck, who's on it? And I would have to try to, convince them to let me stay up to midnight to see midnight special or something. But sometimes it would do Alice Cooper. And I remember Alice Cooper coming on. It was like, just blew my mind, and then it was like, I'm going to get this entire collection. Killer, love it to death, $1 Billion Babies. And it gave you something, it was something to look forward to, something to work for, and, cherished it.
Yep. And when I was a kid, I used my paper out money to buy albums. And then in college, I sold plasma. So I'd sell plasma and then go down the street to the discount den and go look for an import.
Yeah, imports. That was always a great thing. There was one record store that would have that. And I remember ordering stuff that would take 2-3 months to come from London. It was the only place that had the NME and stuff like that. And it's like, I was a big Slade fan. It had to go back to get some of those records in that were never available here, so we probably bored people to death. But there's Julian. Look, he's still writing. Now he's talking about Prince. Julian, you and Ashton have to do a Prince cover. That's all we talked about when we were doing our video. They had a bathtub in the set that we're using, and he wanted to do the Doves Cry scene.
There you go.
Either that or a Rush tune.
Gosh, this is like daggers tonight. This is getting brutal.
Somehow on that record, I still remember, I think the lyrics were handwritten, and I'm like, what the fuck is Bytor and the Snow Dog?
It's brilliant, my friend. And
it's the same as wrapped up like a douche and a roamer in the night. Right? Like blinded by the light.
They had a lot of thematic records. You would have.
What is that about?
No, I mean, you got to give it to that band. That any band, you have 3 people that stay together and don't jettison somebody. And I think they're being really careful about their legacy. I mean, they could have just they could have got, we'll get Cozy Powell or get some, Terry Bozzio. We'll put Terry Bozzio back there. He could probably play the Rush stuff. I mean, at least they're being careful with their legacy, and I don't think that's words many bands utter anymore.
It's got to be Danny Carey from Tool or nobody.
That's my feeling as well. It's got my stamp of approval.
Well, maybe they're listening. Maybe Getty and Alex are listening right now. Like, this little guy didn't like Bytor and the Snow Dog.
There's a great drum solo in the middle. I did like that one.
Did it go?
No, it didn't.
Like, how
No,
many
it did
do I have? I have to hit them all. You didn't like him now as a drummer? No? Okay. Now we're really pissing these guys off.
Oh, it's so funny. That's we razz him about Rush all the time, so it's great to hear somebody else do it.
And we are an obnoxious fan base. We know it, so it's quite all right. But back to your record for a minute. You mentioned 2 more videos. What songs are getting videos, if you can share?
Yeah, why not? The next one is going to be Made of Rain. We shot that with Ashton. We did.
Great. Patrick
came out and we did Holy Ground, and then the very next week we're losing Rozon for a minute. He's got to pee. We shot Made of Rain. I'm going to actually bring that out on September 10th, which, and it freaks me out, has been 6 years since we released Storm.
Wow.
I think
that's crazy.
September 2018. So we did a video for that. Ashton wanted to do the editing, so that'll come out, and then probably November we shot one. It's actually the first video we shot. We shot Leo's track, "Echoes in the Angels."
Awesome.
I mean, I'd love to do one for each. I've talked with Sarah and William. If they come out here, they mentioned possibly coming out in August. Maybe we'll shoot one. I'd love to have Kat shoot one. I'd actually love to have her director that they always do. I think their videos are just
So fun.
absolutely crazy and fun and so creative. And like us, she does them on a shoestring budget. And we did shoot some footage when we shot Diving for Pearls. We shot Tish, Dirk, and I did 2 run-throughs of Hollow with the idea of possibly having Cynthia shoot some footage. Like, she lives in this house, kind of Northern California, in like the Enchanted Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I sent her that footage as just us on a white background, and maybe create something out of that, whether we do it to the album version or one of the remixes. Again, I don't want to do that as the last video and have it get lost, but I mean, I do videos for every song if possible. They're actually a lot of fun to lay out and try to make happen. So I think you could see by watching Holy Ground, we had a blast doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the cool thing is, I mean, you're doing this out of the love of doing everything, and they all look great. They all look professional and well done. It's not, you say shoestring budget, but it doesn't necessarily come across as shoestring budget.
No, I'd watched, Tish had the TV on over the weekend, and there was some 120 minutes, some MTV stuff, and it was like some of the Cars videos and madness, and it's just like, wow, they probably spend tens of thousands of dollars to have a director to do this. We'll put you in a car, then you're going to be chased by a dragon, and it's just like made absolutely no sense, but it was new. But yeah, Vicente and Fernando from Industrialism Films are fantastic. I think they really enjoy, like, going, hey man, gonna shoot another video. What's this one like? I don't know yet, but it's gonna be way different than the previous one. It's like, fantastic, let's do it. So there's not much I throw at them that's not different. I mean, you look at Diving for Pearls and Holy Ground, it's the opposite side of the pendulum for sure.
Yeah, that's exciting. This is really exciting. So I'll give you kind of the last word on the record. What is it about this record you love? Why should people care and purchase this?
Go ahead. Are you going to send Al to their house and kick their ass?
No, I guess Rush over there. I mean, we've put our heart into it. We've put our heart definitely into it. All the singers put their hearts into it. They gave their time, and a lot of time probably, to send us some stuff. Some people do it here. No, I think on this one, I think everyone sent stuff in. So we did that. So we're doing that, and some people love it, what we did. Some people will hate it. That's fine. You know, everything's not for everyone. But I think the people that love it, you know, and really appreciate that you have two people, and then you have the singer also who's putting their fucking heart into it. And Dirk comes up, Dirk drives up, plays some drums for us. He puts his heart into it. So I think that's really, really important today, you know? Like when you have a bunch of people that get involved and put their heart into something, not just doing it to get it done, but you put your heart into it.
I think this is an honest record. I think it's a step forward from progression from Behind the Veil, with definitely some elements of our first records. I think anybody who liked any of the Beauty and Chaos records are going to like this record. Not saying that we just rehashed it, because I do think we've grown as songwriters, arrangement, but not to the point that it's inaccessible. I think I feel it's a great album. I can listen to it, and I can still, and I've been able to do this on all three of our records, remove myself from being part of it. I don't listen to it like I used to do a Human Drama record or Jezebel record, like focus on my guitar. It's like, oh fuck, I wish I would have doubled that. That should have been louder. That's too loud. I wish I would have the snares, this or that. I kind of listen to it like when I put Disintegration on, and that's what comes out. I mean, maybe Robert in the band sits there and goes, oh, I wish, mate, I could remix this, but it's that I'm able to look at it from, above, and I still love what we do. And I think it's a challenge to go, hey, give us 75 minutes of your time. I like to think that you would do it and go, yeah, that's a kind of nice musical journey that took me away from my shitty day job or my money troubles or whatever, politics, religion, whatever is just being bombarded with constantly. Here's just some honest music. And it is probably for a 30 or 40-year-old or up audience. But, hey, we grew up in that span of time of some great music. And this is a throwback in a way to that, but still sounding fresh. I would think if somebody covered Diving for Pearls, I mean, our bank account would probably love it. But if Taylor Swift did Diving for Pearls, it's still a great song, played on piano, guitar, fucking accordion. Wayne's melody is great. And I think the rest of the songs are that way. So it's hard to sit there and go, why should you buy a record? If you like Beauty and Chaos, you buy our record. It keeps us. I'll still do them whether you buy it or not, but it makes it where it's easier on our record label to go, hey, we want to print vinyl. We want to do colored vinyl. Hey, we wanted to, a picture disc, whatever. But I don't care. It's like I still smile, and I'm going to smile when I get that box and open that record and see Marin's art big on that and go, wow, that started from a sketch and evolved to this. Those songs started from this. I still have little bits on my phone that I go back to and go, wow, that turned into Echoes and the Angels. That's this. And this is the end result. Chapter closed.
Nice.
It's something that we're proud of.
Great. That is so cool.
Did you want a longer answer?
Yeah, I was timing it. I was expecting at least 3.5 more minutes. No, I think that's great from both of you
we
guys.
Get to have interviews with you guys.
Hey, everybody wins.
Yay! So, just curious, I'm going to ask you this. So, we have delved into the TikTok world a little bit. We put some short videos on there, and we've been putting our daily top 10. So we put those on. It's 3 songs or 3 albums from each of us. And so if you put in the background without the volume on a popular song that's in a ton of posts, it helps get your viewership or more people can see what you put out there. So I picked Disintegration as one of my albums. And so I looked for Cure songs, and I was surprised the most popular Cure song on TikTok, which appeared in like 89,000 posts or whatever you call them on TikTok. Guess what song it was?
Friday I'm in Love.
No, I know. I was going there, pictures, something like that. No.
Love song. That's up there.
Shake Dog Shake.
The Love Cats.
No, see, that's what I'm like. We're thinking all of those popular, catchy songs, and it's not, which is kind of cool that they made this song and it's been there. It's a forest.
Wow.
And I was really surprised. And pictures of you had like 8,000.
Wow.
So
I actually, at one point, had that conversation one kind of semi-drunken night in New Orleans. The Cure invited us to, and they kept the bar open after, and somehow I found myself just sitting at a table with Robert, and he still kind of thinks that the U.S. audience wants those poppy songs. And I'm like, man, I don't know who's. It's like I had enough alcohol in me. I was going to tell him, if you're asking me, I'm going to fucking be blunt with you. Going, no, they want Disintegration. They love Pornography is a big fucking record here. Well, our label tells us It's like, I think it started because they put out Sorry Wrong Number instead of Letter to Elise on this best of. And Tish and I named Sophia's middle name is Elise. And I said, you're fucking crazy. Letter to Elise and Sorry Wrong Number. There's no comparing the two songs. But I think he gets fed a lot of information that the American audience is that let's go to bed, boppy stuff. And I think he's wrong. Like Forest is dark and fucking a great song. So I'm happy to hear that. Maybe there's hope. Or maybe somebody covered it that has made it a little more popular.
I think they're right. The American audience likes those popular songs, but I don't think the Cure's audience is just the American audience. I think it's a very select group of people like us, Gen Xers, that.
Oh, I think there's a big audience here that wants the dreary stuff. I know a lot of people that were really disappointed that they never did Trilogy here, playing Pornography, Disintegration, and Blood Flowers. They did it in like 10 cities and skipped the U.S. And it was like, oh, the American audience wants the pop stuff. And it's like, I disagree, but he's Robert Smith and I'm not. So
yeah, when we were talking about them doing this 10 album thing, I described them as having the wonderful sad energy, like it's just so good and therapeutic and cathartic, and it's just, you gotta love it.
Well, I think they have a benefit, and I think we have a little bit of that too, that we can kind of be semi-chameleon. I mean, we always keep our foot on home plate, which is what Beauty and Chaos is, but we can touch shoegaze, we can touch dream pop, we can touch a little harder rock, we can touch a little Americana, and still while keeping what we do and not going, what the hell is this band doing? So I think it's great not to be pigeonholed, like you need to do this, or if you branch out of that, you're screwed. And I think the Cure is fortunate, and I think that's a part that Robert has been pretty adamant about, keeping it where we're not being put in a box, and I kind of like to try to model us where we can do whatever comes out. If it starts having a ska beat, I love some of the Clash reggae stuff, and at some point we'll probably have a song that has that stuff to it, but it'll still be Beauty and Chaos.
Gonna do some up picking.
Yeah, I used to drive my mom crazy with those Clash records. And no, that's not true reggae, but I was definitely introduced to it by that stuff and the specials, and back in that time.
Well, I think you guys have been very successful in achieving it's almost a familiar, eclectic sound. There's nothing you guys have done that doesn't sound like Beauty and Chaos. I think, there might be, call it a wheelhouse or call it whatever, but none of your stuff sounds exactly the same. Like you might fit in a pocket, but it's not like there's holes in that pocket, and there's different things that fall out here and there, and it all works. So,
well, I appreciate that. It keeps it interesting. And,
yes,
we'll keep doing this as long as we're having fun with it. There's certainly no shortage right now of creative energy between us, and I don't think there's any shortage of great singers, whether famous or should be famous singers. And I definitely stress that it's just like, I think back in the beginning, it was really not wanting to get locked into that. Wow. So I think some of those first interviews, and it really hit home with me. So having Robin Zander, Al Jorgensen, Ice-T, on your record, what you going to do next? You're going to get Paul McCartney? It's like, no, let me fucking call Paul. Sir Paul. It's just like, I knew we couldn't get locked into that, it couldn't be, the house couldn't be built on that. It had to be built on songs and honesty and great singers and great words. And I'm glad I recognized that, and that we were able on that next record to find get Seabold and Curse and Rafe and Cat and those people on that record, to go, hey, it's not just bigger names,
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you didn't go that route because we knew those folks, but we got to learn about a lot of new ones. We had them on the show. We listened to their music. I love it. I'm so excited that you guys have picked other people. And it's just interesting because it's so easy to get your music out, but it's so hard to be famous or make a living doing it.
You got to go. It doesn't matter. If you do it for that, then you're chasing something that's unrealistic and you're not honest. And I sleep good at night knowing what we made. I sleep good knowing the next day we're coming in here and we're going to have fun. And way more times than not, I leave with a smile like, wow, we're on to something. Or that little piece of music is evolving, so.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you, we'll wrap this up here soon, but you did the all females. Do you have any idea for an album coming up where you might do like all heavy, all men, like kind of more of a tight pocket for a particular record?
I don't know. I don't know if anymore. If you could label something, maybe we do a genderless record. Wait, I think we've got.
We can't have Anthony. He's got multiple Johnsons.
That whole record of like Rush covers.
Now you are on to something, Mr. Rozon. And they even have a reggae song or two. So this is perfect.
Reggae Rush.
And we're gonna have Ashton and Julian sing.
Wow.
When we do it,
you're gonna write. Wait a minute, watch.
You're gonna go when this record is designed to turn up to 78 for proper listening. Play loud and at 78. I don't know. I think if there's one thing, I write little notes that I kind of go back to, and one thing I had written is an all cover, like our version of Pinups. That was just written on my Julian. Is doing something like that, and I thought about doing another record where we limit tracks, like treat it like it was a 16 track or a 24 track tape machine. Like I do like the idea of boxes, just like have Michael open a session, and if we go 24 tracks. And that's what you got, and you have to limit what you do to that, back to that old day of going, oh, we need to put the tambourine, there's nothing put that on the track with the guitar solo and doing that. So those are two weird little boxes that I've talked about, but I don't know. We'll do heavy stuff. We're not, I put Aerosmith Rocks and Johnny Thunders as two of my favorite records. I do like heavy distorted guitar. I like fucked up guitar, which is why I put Loveless. It doesn't get more twisted than that record. And I like the ambient stuff of Disintegration. And I love Mick Ronson. So you shake it, it'll come out.
Yeah, I love it. Mr. Mundy, do you have any last questions for them?
I don't think so. We, appreciate you guys coming on. Mr. Rozon's wonderful to meet you.
That's rare to get him.
Yeah.
Hard enough to get him in a photo shoot.
Julian, do you have any questions for him before we go?
Are you starting on that Rush cover?
We have one person in the chat. It's Julian.
So quickly before we go, important upcoming dates for Beauty and Chaos. What we got?
24th, which is Wednesday, the official release date of the record. CDs should be in hand and we'll start shipping. We are sending CDs overseas to, I maybe said this, but to England to hopefully disseminate. No, we're not doing a Jezebel cover album. We're kind of a cover band now anyway, which hopefully will save some postage for all our family in Europe. So yeah, the 24th, there's some new merch up on the site. This beautiful T-shirt with Marin Platzov's cover and it's on the back too, the back cover. September 10th should be the video of the album's closing track, Made of Rain. And the other video probably early November. I haven't looked at the date to see where it should fall. Something usually tells me like a weird 11/2/24, like that sounds good. But yeah, the Leo video is really fantastic. I'll just say this: the women are going to love him in that. And it's hard standing next to a guy that's half my age that's got his shirt unbuttoned. Hell, it was hard standing next to a guy older than me with Doug Pinnick with his shirt off. I don't know which of the two have more of a six-pack abs.
Does Doug ever have a shirt on? I mean,
Rarely.
He and Iggy are racing, right?
Or Navarro. I don't think they own shirts. But Doug, I would love to have him on something again.
Yeah,
that was so
acceptable.
fun to work
So
with
good.
him. Yeah,
He's a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful man. He's a very sweet, funny, hilarious, kind, loving man.
I am a huge King's X fan, so I'm all for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
use some 12-string bass on the record.
Yeah.
There you go.
I appreciate it. So that's kind of what we got coming up. The record, beautyandchaosmusic.com. If you're in Europe and watching, if you order it, it will ship from Europe and hopefully save some postage. We are not immune to the fact that that's really expensive to ship and everything. We do appreciate it. And then more videos and more fun,
Awesome. I hope this is successful beyond your wildest dreams. I love what you guys do. It's truly incredible. And it's nice when you can write a review for people you like and you can be honest and it's good. Telling you, hey, a record stinks really is not a fun thing to do. And
how do I write that?
It was good except for all of the music and the lyrics. No, I really liked it. It was so good.
Again, when anybody, if you get this record, our website, there's an About the Album tab. If you click on that, it's got the credits. It's got links to each person's social media. It's got photos, but really asks that you give them, each one of those artists, a shot. They truly deserve it. And it's the way you find new music. You're not going to find it on TikTok or sadly in Rolling Stone or everything. It is word of mouth, and these are truly amazing artists that I'm proud to have part of this record.
Yep.
I would like to say again, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your continued friendship and support of us. Like I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, I don't know why Michael likes us so much, but I'm glad he comes on. So
you guys are honest. It's no bullshit. It's about
we always enjoy talking to you. So you are welcome anytime. Mr. Rozon, you're welcome anytime. So
you get
best
him on,
of luck.
hey, put out the new Ministry record. Get him and Al wound up. That'd be a joy.
A little wine going.
Oh man.
I'll be on the other end typing.
I have a feeling if Al Jorgensen showed up on our show, I would turn into Chris Farley and be like, remember that time you played with that one guy? That was cool. But thank you again.
Tidbit. We're trying to get Al back again on something. I'll leave
Yes.
that.
Awesome.
Yes.
The band's doing absolutely fantastic.
Their last album was great. We
It was.
reviewed it. Yeah.
This guy. And so we're trying. That was so fun to have him sitting in the studio right here. Was just fantastic. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
That is awesome. So July 24th, that's the big date. beautyandchaosmusic.com. Go there, order your copy. You're supporting great people. Mr. Rozon is a little sketch right now with his Rush information, but we'll work on him. He's work in progress. Were you being a ventriloquist? Were you trying to throw your voice at Rozon?
Yeah, I was making like suddenly Getty was sitting next to him.
I never bought any of those records.
I'm just for this. I'm gonna go buy a set of Taurus bass pedals and bring them in here and step. Hey, you think we can use? You should have saw his face when I brought Rototoms in here. He thought it was fucking insane. Like, no, wait, we got do.
You need to start filming behind the scenes bloopers.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, there's bunches of those.
A lot of those.
Awesome. Thank you guys again so much for coming on. We really enjoyed it. Love the record. Can't wait for the physical copy. I'll probably do an unboxing on the show just for fun.
Thank you very much. I sure hope it
Thank
looks like they promise us.
And make sure that you come back the rest of the week because 7 through 10 are coming out one each day for the rest of the week. They're short episodes. They're fun, bite-sized. You should enjoy them and find out what you should be listening to. Until then, we'll see you next time. Gentlemen, great luck and thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
All
You
right,
can
bye
go
now.
to bed now, Julian.